Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife and its surprise performance at the box office.
Right. And we're going to talk about how it did compare to Ghostbusters 2016, because we could get these comments at us on our videos or in Twitter or different places. Why are you talking like that? Ghostbusters 2016 outperformed Afterlife. We keep hearing this. You won't mention that, will you? You won't mention that. Well, we're gonna, because we're gonna put it in context. So grab your popcorn or put on your Pampers, whichever one fits you best, and let's go.
Yeah, so before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 241,000 subs. Thank you for the support. We do talk a lot about pop culture, talk about the pop culture wars, talk a lot about Ghostbusters lately because we saw Afterlife. Right. It was good.
Another comment, people are like, you just haters, you just hate on anything because they were mad about us not liking 2016. Love this one. Guess we don't hate on everything. We just hate on the pandering bullshit.
Yeah, so Ghostbusters Afterlife overperformed. We're going to talk more about that later, but it wound up doing $44 million when it was projected to make like $28 million on the high end. Mm-hmm. So that's huge. Now, conversely, if we go back to 2016, Ghostbusters 2016 made $46 million.
And they're like, ha, we made $2 million more. Let's go to context, please.
In the middle of summer.
Mm-hmm. No, and when it's not a pandemic.
Before the pandemic, in the middle of summer with months and months and months of advertising, and it also had a much, much larger budget.
It was twice the cost, just on the budget for the film.
And that's not factoring marketing in. Now, Afterlife didn't have nearly as much marketing. Mm-hmm. I didn't see much for it at all, and I think Sony was being very cautious with this one because of 2016 underperforming, and it did. It was actually projected to make significantly more over the weekend.
So right off the bat, all you whiners, you're like, well, 2016 outperformed by 2 million. Yeah, but it underperformed by estimates at the time. It was released in the summer in a non-pandemic time, in a primo time slot.
Yep.
And it was supposed to do 57 million, but it only did 46. So it underperformed by $9 million.
It lost The Secret Life of Pets, for God's sake.
And it didn't even have the uphill battle that films have today with the pandemic and, people aren't going to the theaters. And that's a really shitty time, too. It's like not like it's a big holiday push. It's like in a weird time before Thanksgiving and everything else that released. Apples to apples, please.
Yeah, so what this means is it's much, much more likely that Ghostbusters Afterlife, given that it had a very modest budget, and you could
half the price, $75 million.
It was $75 million. I knew it was under $100 million, and that does make sense because the film, primarily took place in a small town. Mm-hmm. We didn't have, other than Paul Rudd, we didn't have any big name actors, salaries that they had to pay, and there were very few effect shots compared to 2016. It was a lot of slow build up to, actually seeing ghosts and that sort of thing. And it seemed like they saved all the money for the end of the movie. It was a lot of
more practical effects, which is what, the original films were, which is probably why it feels more like the original films, because they had more practical effects like the original films did. There's that. But yeah, so Ghostbusters 2016 underperformed by $9 million. And they were estimating the Afterlife was only going to do $28 million.
Yeah, and they said that they actually would have been happy with that. A $75 million budget with, very little marketing. They dropped the I think a lot of people forgot it existed, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I kind of look at the situation with Afterlife as being similar to the situation with Batman Begins. And we've talked about that before, where people did not go see Batman Begins at first because they were gun shy because of Batman and Robin. They're like, I'm not going to go see another Batman movie because Batman and Robin was so god awful. I think a lot of people were, turned off to Ghostbusters because of 2016, and they saw a bunch of kids, and they're like, oh, God, that's going to be...
Well, a lot of people have written in the comments or have talked to us other places, we've seen it other places too, that they're waiting to hear what people thought of it before they bought tickets because they weren't going to go if it sucked. And because the word of mouth, which several articles mentioned, the word of mouth and the fan push is so big, it almost did double what it was expected to do.
Yeah, and I think that's going to continue because a lot of people were very cautious. I was surprised. A lot of our regulars are like, we're not going to go see it until we hear the consensus is actually good. People were kind of worried when they had a bunch of kids. They're like, oh my God, it's going to be.
We were worried too.
Yeah, we were. I mean, I forgot we were going to go see it the day, we went Thursday night. I forgot we were going to go see it. I was like, oh yeah, it's Ghostbusters tonight. Get this over with. Rip the Band-Aid off because this is going to be another letdown. And it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was very good. So, yeah, but if you're comparing apples to oranges, Ghostbusters 2016 was predicted to do some, like 57 million.
Yep.
It did 46. So then they're like, it still beat Ghostbusters Afterlife by $2 million in a pandemic. In the winter, heading into the winter at a really crappy time slot. And even then, it overperformed by significantly.
I mean, we're talking like a 50%.
It's not quite, it's a lot. It's a lot more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, come on. It's apples to apples. Plus, you're going to bring up this stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that mean for 2016?
Let's put apples to apples, guys. Let's compare them right where they should be compared.
Regardless of how you slice it, regardless of whether or not you like the movie, okay, it lost a lot of money. It lost a lot of money. In fact, if you go out to Google, one of the first results, and you put in Ghostbusters 2016, you get lots of snippets like this. It's a flop. It's a big flop. It only made $229 million against a $150 million budget, and then it has to make $300 million just to break even.
They had, I think I have it Wikipedia, they broke it down too. They had to spend so much money because they had put all this money into advertising.
Yeah, and they did advertise the movie heavily. I mean, the trailer, there was a lot of fans. I can't remember, did they play it during the Super Bowl? I thought it was. I don't remember. It was a big deal. I remember the trailer being a big deal, and people were like, "Oh God!" And this is the one they thought was going to relaunch the franchise. They were hoping to fire up Ghostbusters again. They thought it was going to be this movie, and they put a ton of money into it, and it didn't work.
Also, the worldwide total of the whole film for 2016 was $229 million.
Yeah,
worldwide for the whole run.
Yeah, no China. So
you're not going to get China for this one either, but that's understandable. $229 million. That was it.
Yeah.
The entire way through.
Yeah. And that's in summer, the middle of summer.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy promotion. So yeah, it lost money. Now there's some argument as to how much it lost, but that year Sony had to take $1 billion write-down in January of 2017 because they lost so much money on movies that year.
Fast forward to this year, and they've got, they got the Ghostbusters, Afterlife. They're doing really well with Venom.
Yes, Venom did very well.
They're doing really well. They're expected to do really well with Spider-Man No Way Home. It seems like Sony's coming out one of the winners this year.
Which is weird because, for as much as we shit on Sony for their handling of censorship on PlayStation, their movie slate is pretty solid. Venom was way overperformed as well. Afterlife overperformed, and of course, Demon Slayer being ridiculous. Spider-Man's going to make a shit ton of money.
Right. So
people keep saying it's a Disney movie, it's a Marvel movie. It's like, no, it's a joint production, but it's still a Sony movie.
Right. So it's gonna get interesting. But I love this headline. Ghostbusters Afterlife answers the call. Somebody had to.
Somebody had to answer it.
Yeah, I just thought this was hilarious. They're talking about the different way it made money, and people, and a lot of them were talking about how it was a fan. Fans were telling other fans to go see it, and and they keep throwing shade at fans. Like they keep acting like if you're a fan of something, but you don't like their version of something, you're not a real fan. You're a terrible person. Look, again, if you like 2016 Ghostbusters, hey, you know what? You are allowed to like it. I know people who did. I don't care if they like 2016 Ghostbusters. They're allowed to like 2016 Ghostbusters. The problem isn't that. The problem is when you keep using these bullshit narratives like misogyny and all this other racism and all this other crap to basically belittle people who don't agree with you. That's where I have a problem. Like, you're allowed to like it. I'm not calling you names for liking it, but I get called names for not liking it. And, for all their argument of misogyny and, because they hate women, again, this film was led by a girl.
Yeah.
So that's a load of shit.
Yeah, everything just fell apart. I mean, here's the thing, and people kept saying, that Ghostbusters was a damaged franchise. They tried to excuse 2016 being like, well, people just don't care about Ghostbusters anymore. It's like, the hell they don't. Mm-hmm. The hell they don't. They just want Ghostbusters that is Ghostbusters. They don't want a complete reboot or reimagining.
They didn't want any.
No.
But they had to have one. It was sure as hell this one, not 2016.
Yeah, so this is interesting. This is Cinema Blend. Estimates were too low. Ghostbusters Afterlife surprises at the box office. Just a week ago? This is what it's supposed to make. 27 to 28 million and 45 million worldwide. It made almost that just in the States during a pandemic, the week before Thanksgiving, with very little marketing.
Right.
Just mostly word of mouth.
It was. And I got to tell you, like I said before, people were waiting to hear what people thought before they went.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of people, on Twitter and in the comments saying we were going to wait to see, what the verdict was before we went. Now, we had a lot of critics taking shots at the movie, and some of them were legit criticisms. I actually agree with some of the criticisms that some of the critics had, but a lot of it was, 2016.
And then they're like, oh, because of fan service. You're just pandering to the fans because of fan service. And it's like, it's a rehash. I'm like, well, honestly, the 2016 film was much more of a rehash than this one was.
Yeah. Variety. Does Ghostbusters Afterlife box office debut signal a revival of a fading franchise?
Here's an idea, Hollywood. Maybe franchises won't, fail if you don't dick with them. I mean, how hard is it? If you have something that works, you don't go in and take the name only, change everything about it, call fans terrible names they don't like it, and then expect to make money.
Yeah.
And you can go and do progressive things. You can hide the pill in the ice cream. You can totally, like I did with Afterlife, a lot of diversity. Had a girl who was neurodiverse and everything else. People liked it. You can totally do this if you do it right. And that's what Hollywood doesn't understand. They think it's one or the other. You can do things and just be creative about how you do it and put it in there and not be like, did you see it was all women? Did you see it was all women? Men suck. Women. You didn't have to do that with this one. And it's the same thing.
I just heard men suck women.
You wouldn't.
That's what I heard.
You have to say suck woman, and call it a day.
Okay. Just one?
Yeah, just one.
It can be only one.
That's right. It's like Highlander.
Anyway, Variety said they failed in 2016 to revive Ghostbusters. They're on track to actually revive the franchise. Now, in the review, I said I'm concerned because Sony's all about this multiverse thing. So I could totally see them being like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a crossover now." With
you know what? They want to do that. If they want to have more movies with 2016 and they want to make those, then they can for that audience. I mean, I'm not going to probably go see it, but other people might. If they want to do it, they can, but I wouldn't recommend it. But if they want to do that, as long as they're making more of this, they can have that. I'll just watch what I want. But they better make more of this because this is what's proving to be what fans want.
Yeah.
Globally, not just, they keep somehow the failure of Ghostbusters 2016 is America's fault and Republicans' fault, even though it was like the one person.
That one ridiculous article on the Daily Beast where they're basically blaming Trump for
Milo, what's his name?
Indianapolis.
Yeah. I'm like, what? What?
Come on. Yeah, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good. A lot of people surprised, a lot of media outlets now kind of backpedaling because they were like, "Oh, it's just nostalgia-driven drivel, and it's not gonna." 2016 was the last good Ghostbusters movie we were ever gonna get, and you guys should have appreciated it more. And Sony's sitting there counting their money, like, "Yeah, this one's actually gonna turn a profit."
Oh, there was one I wanted to talk about for a second because I thought it was pretty funny. I was reading this one, and they're talking about how people are bringing their kids. And it said, on Saturday, over 33% of the audience saw the movie before 4 p.m., indicating a strong turnout among parents and their kids. And then in parentheses it says, children over 5 years old now can be vaccinated. It has absolutely nothing to do with the article.
What?
But I just thought that was funny. That amused me. I thought that was funny. They had to get that in there. How much money they got for that?
They talk about a lot of these blogs. They're like, hey, we may earn a commission from sales. I thought they were talking about Amazon. Apparently, they're talking about Pfizer.
I just thought it was funny. I was like, I'm reading through this article, and they're like, hey, people, nostalgia, people bringing their kids, and everything else. And they said they failed. They brought up the failure of 2016. A lot of these blogs, by the way, mentioning 2016 failed because it did. But I thought that was funny when they put in parentheses out of nowhere, get your kids vaccinated if they were 5. I just thought that was funny. That was unrelated, but I just thought it amused me.
They're gonna be like, oh, it's safe to bring your kids to the movie theater now. Most parts of the country kids have been going to the theater pretty much throughout the pandemic when the theaters were open.
When it was open, yeah.
That we've seen. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
I just thought it was funny. It's kind of an aside to this whole thing. I just thought I had a little chuckle at the Hollywood Reporter's expense because I was like, "That's what you put in your article." Okay, then.
I think it's funny though. In the movie, they've got the countdown clock for the doomsday scenarios, and 84 was spoiler. 84 was a doomsday event, and so is 2021. But they had no idea when they were.
Well, but it was supposed to be out in 2020.
Yeah.
So it probably said 2020 originally.
Yeah, but they had no idea how bad things were going to get.
I know. I just thought it was funny.
All right, so we got to wrap this up.
Yep.
Okay, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.